While many people know William Howard Taft as one of our presidents, not many people remember that he was also a Chief Justice. To get to that point, though, we need to go from the beginning. William Howard Taft was born in Cincinnati, Ohio on September 15, 1857, as the son of a very distinguished judge named Alphonso Taft. Alphonso was the Republican Secretary of War for Ulysses S. Grant and the diplomat to Austria-Hungary and Imperial Russia. William's father was a prominent Republican during his time, something that would likely influence William to follow in his footsteps. His mother was Lois Torrey. William attended Woodward High School as his primary education. Afterwards, he attended Yale College, which is located in New Haven, Connecticut. He was an excellent student, and after graduating in 1878, he went on to attend the University of Cincinnati College of Law, and in 1880 he was admitted to the Ohio State Bar Association. While Taft was involved in politics, he preferred law over politics and was appointed federal circuit judge at age 34. He aspired to be a member of the Supreme Court, but his wife Helen held other ambitions for him. His route to the White House was via administrative posts. When in the Philippines in 1900, he was the chief civil administrator, in 1907 the Secretary of War for President Roosevelt, and then finally president from 1909 to 1913. Taft was the 10th Chief Justice appointed. He was appointed by President Warren G. Harding in 1921 and was Chief Justice from 1921 to 1930, which was when he died. Taft considered his appointment was his greatest honor and wrote that I don't remember that I ever was president. While Taft was part of some large landmark cases, he was also part of some smaller cases, like United States v. Moreland and the Pocket Veto case. Larger cases included Atkins v. Children's Hospital, which dealt with federal minimum wage, and Bailey v. Drexel Furniture Co., which dealt with the child labor tax law of 1919. While most people remember Taft as the heaviest president at around 354 pounds and him getting stuck in the White House bathtub, there were other interesting facts about him, like when he died in 1930 he weighed 280 pounds, and how he considered that his Supreme Court appointment was a higher honor than his presidency, and the fact that he had a tendency to fall asleep during public functions. William Howard Taft was the only man in history to hold both the office of the President and Chief Justice in the United States. At 5:15 o'clock in the afternoon on March 8, 1930, he passed away of a cardiovascular disease at around 72 years old. After that, his Associate Justice Edward Terry Sanford passed away the same day. The 1940s were a turbulent time. Europe was in the midst of its Second Great War, and America wanted to remain isolated, so they cut trade with the Empire of Japan. This angered the Empire of Japan, which then prompted them to attack Pearl Harbor. In response to this, America viewed Japanese Americans as a possible threat. This is a Supreme Court case about the Japanese American internment. The Supreme Court case Korematsu v. U.S. had two parties involved: Fred Korematsu, a Japanese-American citizen from California, and the United States government as the respondent. The case was brought about and argued from October 10th to October 11th, 1944, and decided on December 18th, 1944. However, Fred Korematsu was convicted in violation of Executive Order 9066 months after Pearl Harbor. He was convicted in 1942. The case originated from San Leandro, California, and the defendant was Fred Korematsu, who was found in violation of Executive Order 9066. Executive Order 9066 made it so that everyone of Japanese descent had to report to internment camps. The case was about trying to find out if the President and Congress went beyond their assigned war powers and implemented an exclusion and rights-limiting executive order that was focused on Americans with Japanese descent. Originally, Korematsu was tried in San Francisco and was convicted of violating a military order issued. He was given 5 years probation and sent to an assembly center in San Bruno, California. Korematsu's attorneys appealed the court decision to the U.S. Court of Appeals. The U.S. Court of Appeals agreed with the court case, so Korematsu asked the Supreme Court to hear his case. On December 18, 1944, the Supreme Court decided in a 6-3 decision that the detention was a military necessity and was not based on Fred Korematsu's race. The case impacted society because it gave the United States government the right to forcibly exclude and move from designated areas based on the race of the person. The court case was a 6-3 in favor of the United States government, and it was stated that the need to protect the United States from espionage and other forms of wartime acts was considered more important than Mr. Korematsu's individual rights. Even though his sentence was overturned, the United States still has this ability. Thank you for taking time to listen to my project, and here's the works cited.